Good afternoon. I did not expect this turnout. So, I am Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, and I'm delighted to be here on Constitution Day. So I will say I started my morning at Madison Junior High in a civics education event as part of Constitution Day because 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th birthday of the Declaration of Independence. And so as chair of the Maine Semi-Quincentennial Commission, we were kicking off a series across the state to help teachers and students learn about American history, learn about the Constitution, which I carry in my purse. This one's a little bit battered. I've been carrying it since I was executive director of the ACLU of Maine. And so I share that because I think it's particularly meaningful that we're having, and because what we are fighting to protect is free and fair elections. And I'll start with this, and many of you have heard me say of our free and fair elections. We consistently rank at the top of the nation in voter registration and turnout. Yesterday was National Voter Registration Day, which is the day across the country where it is not too late for everyone to register. And as I traveled the state doing voter registration events yesterday, my mantra was every day is voter registration day in Maine, and that's why 92.4% of Mainers are registered to vote. And in 2022, we were first in the nation in voter turnout, and in 2024, we were third in the nation in voter turnout. So what the Trump DOJ is doing, how they are targeting Maine, is not normal. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, the states are in charge of the elections, not the federal government, not the president, not the Department of Justice. It isn't the first time that the Department of Justice has asked for voter data. Some of you folks have been around for a long time. You may recall in 2016 when the Trump administration sought voter data, and not a single he told Donald Trump Justice told us that they wanted sensitive, personal voter data for every voter in our state. I was hearkening back to our history when I said, go jump in the Gulf of Maine. I say it again today, go jump in the Gulf of Maine. It is unprecedented for the Department of Justice to expect that they can get the sensitive personal voter data of every voter in the country. That's why Republican and Democratic secretaries all across the country are standing up. Our neighbors in New Hampshire also rejected the Department of Justice's voter request. So it is strange, it is not normal that they are targeting just Maine and Oregon with these lawsuits. Why aren't they targeting New Hampshire or Pennsylvania? Republican secretaries of state who have said no. And I do want to share that the issues that the Department of Justice have raised, the National Voter Registration Act, the Help America Vote Act, that make voting accessible, that protect voters against discrimination. And I have full confidence in our local and state election officials that not only do we comply with state and federal election laws, but we excel in safe and secure elections. Time and time again, our state and local election officials show that we have awesome elections here in our state. And the systems and procedures that we have to verify the integrity of the voter list are very detailed. Local election officials conduct routine list maintenance. In fact, the clerk in Madison today talked to the students about how she makes sure that when people die, she takes them off of the rolls. That's what clerks do every day. When I first started, we started automatic voter registration at the Bureau of Motor Vehicle. Now, when someone moves and so they update their license or they get a license for the first time, we register them to vote, and we also update their voter registration to take them off the rolls from their prior residence and get them registered in the right place. We get death records, as I mentioned, monthly from Vital Records. We eliminate duplicates. That is painstaking and ongoing work that our state and local election officials do all of the time. And beyond the daily work of voter list maintenance that happens through clerks and our state election officials, the election division conducts registration glazing over voter list ever saw the single largest initiative to clean Maine voter rolls in our state's history. In June 2022, the Elections Division generated a list of over 248,000 voters who had registered to vote 18 but had not Act. What states are required to do is send out a mailing to those voters. You then must wait 2 federal elections before conducting any cancellations. Well, as a result of this effort, in February 2025, 180,584 voter records were canceled. I was talking to one of my Republican legislator friends. He's like, why don't you tell them that you've canceled another secretary in history? Well, I'm you for the first time. Every year, we send what's called the Central Voter Registration System Report to the legislature, and it has facts and figures about all of the work that our clerks and our state elections division do. It is so we have been crystal clear about the work that we do to protect. Julie Flynn is the longest serving elections director in the nation. She's served under Democrats and Republican Secretary of State Charlie Summers, and she and her civil service team of nonpartisan election officials and all the clerks across the state do a marvelous job. Mainers are known for their independence. As a large rural state, we're all too used to people from away underestimating our abilities. And unfortunately, what last night's press release shows is that Washington bureaucrats think they can do better than we do it here in Maine. But I'm here to say, Maine has long been at the top of the. We have safe and secure elections. Our state and local election officials know well how to run our elections. And we don't need politicians in Washington or bureaucrats to tell us how to do that. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to take a couple of questions to the extent that I can. Sure.
What do you think is behind all this? What's the end goal? What do they have?
That's a good question, because I'm not the only secretary saying no on the question of voter data. Right next door in New Hampshire, Secretary of State Dave Scanlon has also twice declined the Department of Justice demands. In Pennsylvania, Republican Secretary Al Schmidt has also declined the Department of Justice demands. So I really don't understand why the Department of Justice is targeting 2 Democratic secretaries when secretaries of state all across the nation are saying no to these unprecedented data requests. And I have concerns that it is partisan. And this is precisely the reason that the Department of Justice, which has the ability to investigate people and put them in jail, should not have the right to know the partisan affiliation of every single voter in the country. That's not something they've ever had. And so if they can target me because I'm a Democrat, they could target voters because of their political persuasion. And that's yet one more reason why we do not share sensitive personal information with the Department of Justice.
When I spoke to the Attorney General's office this morning, the state had not yet been served to this lawsuit. Have we seen it yet? When do we expect to see it? I know ordinance is available.
I have not been served this lawsuit.
So the end of the DOJ statement from last night says that you gave identical information that they're requesting to a private organization. Do you know what does that refer to?
This is a lie. It's simply not true. I reviewed the Oregon lawsuit and I reviewed a copy of what appears to be the Maine lawsuit, although I have not been served. And they're referencing an organization called ERIC. ERIC is a collaboration of the states. The states ourselves govern the organization to exchange certain types of information to prevent against voting twice across different state lines. And that was something that the legislature proposed with a bipartisan bill a couple of years ago. And I wholeheartedly endorsed as secretary because we do want to make sure that folks that move to Florida don't vote in Florida and vote in Maine. And that's one of the safeguards. But it is absolutely a lie to say that we share shared data with private organizations or the amount of sensitive personal information that they're demanding. It's just not true.
My understanding is that it requires some sort of rationale or legal basis. Have you seen that in any of the correspondence you've had from DOJ?
We have not yet been served with a lawsuit. Again, it begs the question, why was the first thing that they did was issue a press release targeting Maine and Oregon, 2 Democratic secretaries, when secretaries of state all across the country are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to turn over sensitive personal information of every voter in this nation for no good reason.
Like there is no legal backing for what they're asking for? Like what are the rights in terms of the DOJ and overseeing elections?
My response to the DOJ's legal arguments when we finally see the legal lawsuit will be, see you in court.
That there are like laws in place to protect privacy if they were to get this information. Like is that the concern releasing it?
The DOJ demanded voter information in 2 communications to the state of Maine, 2 letters. And we responded twice with detailed information about all the work that our local and state election officials do to ensure the integrity of the voter rolls. Because there is one thing that I absolutely agree with President Trump on. Every American in our democracy who is a citizen deserves the right to freely register, to cast their ballot freely and fairly, and know that their vote will be counted. I agree with the opening paragraphs. Let me rephrase. I agree with the ideal that every eligible citizen should have the ability to register, cast their ballot, and know that their ballot will be counted. I have spent my career as an advocate working to support federal and state laws that help make voting more accessible to the people and safeguarding our elections. DOJ seems to be using their enormous power to try to get the sensitive personal voter information of every voter in the nation. And that is not normal. That has never happened before. And that is contrary to the ideal in Article 1 of our Constitution that I swore an oath to uphold and defend, and I'm celebrating today on Constitution Day.
Are there any states that have handed over this information to the DOJ?
I couldn't speak specifically to every state. Great, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And we have press releases, so if you didn't get all of that detail, like the 180,000 voters that we reached, you get that press release. The other thing that we have, so actually, I'll just speak informally. It's not newsworthy per se, but we've got copies of the